In the spirit of open source, actually, this discussion, we are sourcing the questions from the audience. So the people that are here before you came, we ask them like if they have specific question that they want to ask you. But we also would love, if you have questions you want to ask us, this can be more of a discussion basically than just like us like, you know, grilling you. So yeah, we're very, very excited to have you. And maybe you can start with just maybe say your name, where you're from very quickly, and then we'll have an introduction.
Hi, I'm Chiki, I'm from India, from MakerBay.
Hi, I'm Maria, I'm from Hong Kong, made in Hong Kong. Simply it's called made in Hong Kong, and I work in MakerBay.
Hi, I'm Yui, I'm from Vietnam, and I'm also working in MakerBay.
I'm Cesar, I'm from France and Japan, and I started MakerBay.
Oh, I'm David, I'm from New York City. I sort of teach 3D printing here in Hong Kong.
What's your name? What? Carla, okay.
Thomas, I'm from the UK and I'm also working with MakerBay.
I'm Brad, I'm from Chicago, and I'm a member of MakerBay.
I'm Michael and I'm from Australia and I just started at MakerBay.
My name's Keith. I actually is born in Hong Kong, but I'm retiring now.
My name is I'm a Thai teacher, and now I participate in some projects in biohacking, also in makers. Your site is very good one because I think 6 years before I first discovered that it's Instructables in the website. Then I see all projects that's run by your websites. Then it's very interesting. Yeah, really.
What's your name?
My name's Persian, and I live in Oakland.
What?
And I'm Christy Canida, and I live in San Francisco. That's Percy and Corvette. And I don't currently work on Instructables either, but I'm still at Autodesk.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I'm Eric. Wilhelm, my founder in Instructables.
Cool. These are a few questions that people have been wanting to ask. So maybe we start with this, and you are very free to say like you don't want to answer it. So the first is what you're up to these days.
Okay, so I have Instructables was acquired by Autodesk. I ran that business in Autodesk for many years. Did a bunch of things within Autodesk, most notably I ran Fusion 360 for a couple of years. So it's a design and manufacturing software program. So I led that for a couple of years. And a year ago I left Autodesk to become CEO of a residential solar company. And I'm working on this project to try and make residential solar cheaper in the US. The US has all sorts of regulations around residential solar, and I'm trying to make it more like buying a washing machine or a dryer, and less like getting a home renovation. Because right now there's a bunch of permits and permission and contractors, a bunch of work that you have to do to get a solar system in your home, and it ends up being 3 times as expensive as other parts of the world. So we're actually about $3 to $3.50 a watt compared to Australia, which is $1 a watt or less. And it's all the same hardware, so it's all just regulation. So I'm working on that problem.
So you're a politician?
Sorry.
A politician?
No.
No.
I'm specifically trying to make. I don't believe that the U.S. will change its regulations around solar, so I'm trying to make a system that actually doesn't need to be regulated. So that's my approach.
Okay. Cool. So we'll definitely dig more into that and ask you a lot of questions about that.
Yeah. So we have a prototype and we're taking it through certification, which is the main issue. So that's the certification is taking a long time.
So I think the thing that in this community you're the most famous for, you guys are actually for Instructables. So I think there's a couple of questions that are about Instructable, and maybe we'll kind of transition into So.
Oh, yeah, so I'm at Autodesk.
Yes.
And I haven't, I wasn't allowed to work on Instructables when Eric Eric ran it because you're not allowed to work in your spouse's
Oh,
organization.
right.
So I wasn't allowed to work on Instructables for many years. So I've done a lot of things with data and data privacy and making sure that all of the data at Autodesk is handled appropriately. Those of you from the EU are probably familiar with the new EU privacy laws. So,
DTP.
yeah, the GDPR.
Yeah, for this graph, you worked on Tinkercad.
Oh yeah, I worked on Tinkercad. Yes, and so spent a long time working on Instructables. I still have the second most highly viewed Instructable.
Nice. Which is what?
How to make Play-Doh.
How to make Play-Doh?
Play-Doh.
Play-Doh. Nice.
But I worked on Tinkercad for a while and getting the tutorials for Tinkercad, and I use Instructables so that you can actually do the tutorial for Tinkercad with the Instructables and directions right next to the workspace.
Nice.
So that makes it a
And you got
lot
kicked off
easier.
Tinkercad. I got
Yes.
Tinkercad for a while too, so she got kicked off Tinkercad.
Oh no.
Yes. And
So-
that's why I had to go deal with lawyers and data.
So how is Tinkercad and Fusion 360 connected? Because Tinkercad is kind of the child version of it?
Yeah,
Or
no, so it's
Well,
intentional.
not so much a child version, but an introductory version.
introductory version.
Right.
So
So
people
that
get
means
it.
if you're a mechanical engineer, you would probably use something more like Fusion or Inventor or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you're say making an enclosure for electronics,
Tinkercad is
Tinkercad is great.
much faster.
So also, the fundamentally different ways of thinking. With Tinkercad, you have shapes. So you think about it as you're bringing these three-dimensional shapes and you start building the shapes. Fusion is more of the sketching, extruding type of and so the Fusion is way more powerful, but the concepts are different. So there's lots of people where Tinkercad would be just fine for everything that they'd ever need to do.
Mhm.
But if you need to graduate to Fusion, then you move on to the sketch and extrude.
But it does teach you to think in 3D in some of the more basic ways. So
Yeah.
the kids use Tinkercad.
And so now you're able to work together in the same company finally, or
Well, no, I'm still at Autodesk.
yeah, so that's
So-
full time.
Yeah, I'm still at Autodesk.
Okay. And so now you do Tinkercad or you do the legal stuff?
No, I do a lot of things with our data strategy and the workflow of how you take data from one of the products to another product.
Ah.
Right. The idea is that all of these workflows should be tied together, and so you should be able to, if you're working in construction, you should be able to take your building design from Revit, and you should be able to send it to the people who are actually building the building, and make that workflow very clear, as opposed to when you're doing a complicated CAD design.
And ridiculously, it's like
Yeah.
Autodesk products should talk to each other, and they don't. So that's
They don't. This is the problem with having 37 years of acquired companies and trying to make them
Stick
talk
them together, yeah.
Right, and it doesn't work as well as it should.
Yeah.
It should all be really smooth.
And so is that a job that you created, or is it
It's
like an actual?
job that no one wants to do. I seem to do those.
It's like a diplomatic mission.
Some of it is explaining why you have to do it now.
Okay.
Right, because you always have a long list of things to do,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's very easy to just think about, this is my product.
Right.
This is the only piece I'm working on. I don't care. You solve it. Right?
Yeah.
And so the question is, at what point do you make the decision to improve the entire set of products
Right.
instead of just one at a time, right? Like, I can make this one better, and then I can make this one better. But if I make all of them better at the same time, even if it's a smaller improvement, it may be much better for the person who's using the products to be able to move smoothly from one to another.
It's a bit off topic, but how much energy or resources put in like integrating the existing part versus acquiring new parts?
That varies between the different groups. So
I
we have a construction, architecture and construction group. We have the manufacturing group, and then we have the media and entertainment group, which does the 3D modeling for special effects, Maya and 3ds Max and Chakra and things like that. So the different groups have different priorities, but in the next few years, this is going to be one of the major things that Autodesk is working on, is trying to make sure that within each of those groups, that workflow is much smoother than it is now.
Cool. Okay. The second question is, what is Instructable today, and how different it is from your original vision?
So the original vision was, I just tell the story, which is funny. So when I was finishing my Ph.D, I took up kite surfing, which is where you take a big kite and a surfboard and you have the kite drag you out of the ocean. I built all my own gear. This is the infancy of the sport. This is around 2000. So this is the infancy where the gear wasn't quite commercialized, and so I was
really expensive.
I was designing and building my own gear. I would show up at the beach. Half of it would perform spectacularly, and the other half would fail. But I'd never do which half. So the Coast Guard was involved on multiple occasions to pull me out of the water. And I documented all of my kites and boards on my personal website. But it was, at the time, it was taking me just as long to write a web page about a kiteboard as it was to actually build the kiteboard. So I saw that there's a need to make it easier to do this. And further, I would meet people who would ask me for my files. They wanted to get my CAD files or instructions on how I build stuff. So I saw that there was a need for me to be able to document this stuff easier, and there was a need for people to share the stuff that they made with others. So eventually built this documentation engine and released it out, and that was the first version of Instructables.
But it was really more to solve an internal need than
to
create a.
So that was the initial vision, and it's still pretty true to that vision. So I would say that as things go, it's pretty true. In the scope of this question is interesting from the perspective of what did we imagine the business model would be initially, and so there are a whole bunch of ideas around: should we be selling kits? Should we be connecting people in some way? Should we be building things like we had ideas like what Etsy turned into? We had ideas around that, and eventually it was easy to just put the web page up and start running ads against it. That seemed to be easy, and at the time it looked great. So we just went down that path, and now it's still doing that, but it's part of something bigger, and is part of Autodesk education group. So there's less of a component of it just being a media destination, which whose purpose is just to bring eyeballs in and serve ads against it. There's a bit of a mission around educating people to understand that they can build, that they can be an agent in their own world and create things, and then that has a tie into Autodesk's mission. So it still does have that, and it still does make money, but there's a tie into the broader vision of how people learn that they can be someone who thinks something.
It's not purely philanthropic, but it's definitely got a component. The education group within Autodesk, they definitely would like people to learn how to use the products, but it is tied with the philanthropic arm of Autodesk as well.
It's also fun to say that the company was acquired, and it's been really a poster child of success for acquisition.
Yeah.
Which is, Instructables still exists, right? So then there's a huge hurdle of lots of companies get acquired and they just don't exist anymore. So lots of communities and things get acquired and then they eventually just get consumed into whatever they.
Or they're covered with video ads and pop hunters.
was it? Why do you think it survived? Was it because you put certain conditions to protect?
It was not acquired by a media company.
Yeah, it was acquired by a media company.
Right.
So
all the other potential acquirers were media companies.
Yeah. So we joined a company who was drastically different than what we did. Also, it was just luck. There was a good condition. There was a good set of people at Autodesk that allowed it to continue to thrive.
Did you have offers for, say, the O'Reilly Group or a group like that?
They were
media companies.
Media companies.
O'Reilly was our founder.
Yeah.
Oh, really? What's your founder?
Yeah, O'Reilly Architect Ventures.
Originally before you got acquired by Autodesk.
Yes.
Ah, no way.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we were there.
You were their first investment.
We were their first investment.
no way. So actually, you started sort of as a media company, but because you were not acquired by a media company, this is why it went so well.
Because when you're acquired by a media companies have not done well recently.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge pressure for more ads, more video, more
Right.
everything. And so we didn't realize how lucky we were at the time. And now we realized we were very lucky.
I mean, there's a certain amount of dollars that are spent on online advertising, and those dollars are largely consumed by Google and Facebook.
Yeah.
So if you're not part of that ecosystem, you're fighting against those big players, and so it's actually it's very hard to survive as an independent media company because there's such big dominant players, and because it's literally it's a fixed pie. So it's a zero-sum game. There's only a certain number. I don't know what it is, but there's a certain number
At this point,
of billions of dollars are spent on internet advertising, and those dollars are largely put into Facebook and Google because they're so good at it.
Yeah. So the next question is, what is the role of Eric, Christy, and the kids in the while Instructable was running, and maybe how it's changed now?
I did everything but code. And these guys, when they showed up, they slept on the desk and then they slept on the floor. And they show up in lots of Instructables.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some really nice Halloween costume Instructables from both of them.
There's really lots of hits as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the kids, can I ask you, did you write Instructables as well, or did you write your own? Do you write your own Instructables? You haven't written your Instructables yet? Maybe your sister, did she?
Did you write your own Instructables?
So they helped write, or they helped document the projects that we built together. But they're still under our accounts because children under 13 should not have accounts on Instructables.
How old are you?
She's 10.
Ah, okay, so you still have 3 years to go.
Yes.
I see.
So they don't have any account.
I see.
We should not have children's data.
We follow our own rules.
That's good. That's a question for Maria.
What?
That's your question?
Oh, yeah. Well, I just want to follow with that. Because some of my students, they I will introduce Instructables to them, and then they will document their projects on Instructables. But then they will be in primary school. So
generally, the way to do that is to have the parent on the account.
Ah.
So that's pretty straightforward.
Okay. And so.
And maybe there's also something that is more practical because for young kids, if I ask them to use their email, they will have email.
Exactly.
And then
So the rule is that we are not supposed to hold information on, or have an account for someone who's under 13. So the proper way to do that is to have an adult, a responsible adult, have the account and put up the information.
But there's a whole process for tickering, right?
There is a process for doing that, and we have not done that for Instructables because it's complicated.
But there is a process for kids under 13.
So this is there's a U.S. law called COPA, and then also where you have to get parental permission to collect information from someone under 13. And then the EU laws, the age is between 13 and 16. So, and so we try and be careful about that.
So maybe, because I just know that now, I will be.
And so just have the parent on the account.
Does it from student to on 15?
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just
Maybe we
quickly
need to
skip
see
that process.
Yes, agree.
We do an age screen, a neutral age screen. That's cool.
Yeah. So I think my question will be, yes. I found that I tried to the DIY bio to keep a community and meetup group.
Yeah.
Even like physical meetings for community is also we also face challenges. So I'm curious about what are the challenges in setting up an online community and keep the people feel exciting and engaged in the thing.
What is your secret?
What is
There's no secret, it is hard work. There's a lot of hard work.
Well, so when we set up Instructables, the idea was this was a place we wanted to hang out, right? And also, when you're running an online community, you need to manage it, because especially when communication is anonymous, or when you have a pseudonym. Not to say that when people use their real names, they can't also be jerks. But the farther removed it is from their real name, the worse it can get. And so we specifically said, we have a be nice policy. And if you are not nice, we'll kick you off. we'll remove your comments and we will kick you off. Because that's not the way that we behave.
There's also some stuff that we did that was not totally obvious, was that the admin accounts were not marked. So a casual viewer would come in and see the community operating in a positive way. And if someone said, hey, this is not how we behave here, that account wasn't marked as an admin. So that casual viewer didn't see that an admin was taking action. They saw that a community member was taking action. And so that then gave permission to other community members to take action who weren't as deep into it to know who the admins were.
You could certainly figure out,
it wasn't
you
hidden.
know, when there's a comment from Eric saying something.
Yeah, it wasn't hidden who was running the site, but it wasn't obviously marked on the comments.
But one of the other things is the core audience is a bunch of geeks. And what do geeks like to do? They like to game systems, right? So if you say, don't cross this line, the answer is, well, what if I do this? What if I do this? What if I put my fingernail over? So if you draw a very bright, thin line, everyone will try and figure out exactly how close you can go without getting kicked off. So instead of, we said, this is the line. This is a huge line, and don't even aim at that line, right? That's what when we say we have a be nice policy, that means not that you can say this word but not this word. It means, look, you're trying to be a jerk. I don't care which words you used, right? It's not like we have a list of
forbidden words.
We use that. We do some automated filtering. So
you do.
Yeah. But in order to solve the problem of geeks gaming systems, we say it's not. This is okay, and this is not. This is context dependent. We know it when we see it, and you need to stick to the spirit of the law and not so much the letter of the law. So we will make a list of things that you definitely cannot do, but this is a small portion of the real list. The real list is if you're being a jerk, we can't do that. We should be nice.
Did you create those rules from the beginning, or how far in the process did you come up with this rule, and did you do this like on your own thinking, or did this like collaborating with the...
It evolved.
Evolved, yeah.
Well, so some of the automated tools to help also evolved. But the idea of don't be a jerk, right? Be nice. A be nice policy is, I'll give you a reference for Kathy Sierra. She did a lot of, in the early internet, KATHYSIERRA. She did a lot of community moderation work back in the early internet days. And she's not online right now because she was bullied off the internet a long time ago. But she had a lot of really good thoughts about running communities. And she's got a book out that might be useful.
Is there a particular title that you recommend?
Yeah, I think Badass is the name of the...
This one? Oh.
I believe her book is called Badass, but she's pretty thoughtful about that sort of thing. So that was what we were reading and who we were talking to when we started doing this. But in terms of moderation tools, some of this was, if it's just a small group of people having a conversation, you're in every conversation. But then once you start having 30 million people, it becomes a little bit harder to do. So you start, as you scale up, you have to build automated moderation tools. So we do have a list of words that we know are not good words. And if we use those words, someone will review it before it goes live. Because, so for example, if you use the word gun, that might be a hot glue gun. That's fine. There are other times when that might not be the thing that we want to have going up.
Right.
But that's an example of a word that we definitely filter, and then someone checks it and does a review to make sure that everything's good.
I mean, apart from the fact that this is an amazing community, but the way that you've moderated it or you've grown it, I think is for me it's one of the places where I feel the safest. And it's surprising because it's a place where we share a lot of the failures as inventors. We do experiments that fail, and in a time where like platforms like Facebook or they are being now seen as potentially destabilizing even democracies. Like, do you think that some of the methods that you're using are scalable?
Yes, and in many cases, places like Facebook choose not to do this. They have the added problem of video. Video is different because it's harder to pre-filter. But in many cases, they have explicitly made choices for purposes of engagement, and in some cases because of a certain libertarian outlook, and wanting to be a public commons. Whereas we're not saying that this is a public street. Instructables is you come into our workshop, right? You come into MakerBay. This is your house.
It's a community.
This is your community.
Yeah.
And that's different from being in the public square. Whereas I think things like Facebook and Twitter would like to think of themselves as a public sphere where they don't have a responsibility. But I think that that's correct.
Right. I mean, groups like the Pirate Bay, for example, they had the same idea. Like, we're not responsible for the files. We're just being a forum and people exchanging the files that we don't know. But then
that's also DMCA Safe Harbor is a U.S. law that specifically says
intellectual property.
Yeah, that you get immunity for as a neutral purveyor of information. But that's different from the question of what are your responsibilities, or how are you treating that space.
Right.
So we are still able to take advantage of DMCA Safe Harbor because we do not, for example, edit other people's posts.
All right.
Right. But we still feel responsible for making sure that the content is of a certain
type. Yeah.
Right. That the conversation goes in certain ways.
That's a somewhat subtle point, which is you can say this is how we behave. We can set the bar and demonstrate how we want people to behave. And we can remove things, but we never edit.
I see.
Right, which is the nuance about how you stay within that. Because if you start editing people's work, then
you become a
censor
of it.
Yeah.
Basically.
So sorry, I have many questions.
Actually, one of the other things that you said about the community is listing the errors, right?
Yes.
So saying this is how it went horribly, horribly wrong. That's a thing that you don't see very often. Right. In many other places, you either see things that are perfect. Right. If you look on Instagram, everyone perfectly curates their output, with few exceptions. But you only see the perfect result, and you don't see the blood and the injuries.
The labor.
I was looking at someone's Instructable a couple weeks ago, and he was building a robot. But between the first step and the fifth step, I think he got 3 bandages on his fingers.
Don't do this
at
at
home.
home.
There are all of these side pieces, but you got to see how we went wrong. And that's the thing that I love, is I didn't do this because there's certain groups that do this with recipes, and they say, we tried this did not work, we tried this, we didn't like the results, so instead we did this. And so that means that if I decide, you know what, I prefer this thing that you didn't like, I can go down this way. And so I like that approach.
Right.
And I think that both the telling all of the messy parts and not just showing perfection is valuable in building your story and feeling more involved, and for teaching someone else.
I think it's also why people show up, because they're interested not just in seeing the project, but they're also seeing the story behind it.
I think that's exactly the feedback that we also get from the youth program that we have. So when people are funding, they actually don't want to see the finished product. And if you want to see the journey, I think that's fun.
And then one of the other things that about the journey is you appreciate and value the work.
It's just so much more precious because it's fun to work.
Yeah, I had a question that I think, like you've answered part of it with question 2 and 4, but like if I'm not sure if I can explain this well enough. If we look at something like the invention of the television, and if you look at it idealistically, like you could have a television in everyone's house, and everyone's house would be like a classroom, and everyone would be so much smarter. We can see how that just didn't turn out that way because of the advertising model, and how it was completely hijacked and corrupted by like capitalism and commercials. And so you guys sort of spoke about that you thought about that and said, well, let's not sell out to a media company. And then says
I will say that is not what we said.
But that happened.
Because we presumed that our acquirer would be a media company, and the fact that Autodesk was a potential acquirer was a surprise to us.
Oh, so that was luck.
That was luck.
And
right?
do you think it would have...
As soon as you take venture capital funding, you have committed to return value to your investors.
Also, I mean, it's important for me to, I want to have positive impact in the world.
Yes.
And I firmly believe that the best way to have positive impact is actually to build a sustainable business, because that business can then continue on its own without having to have people supporting it. So I was taken by Pierre Minibar, one of the founders, or the founder of Eaton, and at some point I was pitching his venture capital firm, and I learned that his foundation is trying to do a whole bunch of great work, but ultimately his greatest positive impact he's had in the world is creating eBay, because it allowed a bunch of people to create businesses and to create a new means of making it. And so because that was a bigger way to have positive impact than doing charity. And so I think that's
one of these things is self-sustaining.
That's the direction I want to drive from. Just
and that's perfectly leading into the second part of the question. Like, I assumed you were those type of people, and then so you wanted to keep this, you wanted to make a positive impact, and then let's look at Facebook. Like Zuckerberg apparently says that, like, if we joined the world's community, like, good things would happen. Like, it's turned out that maybe didn't happen exactly that way. So was there anything that you anticipated, like, I want to make a positive contribution, but what if this gets completely corrupted by something like, now I'm guessing, like, people are sharing how to make guns, or like you can just ban that with the online community, or let's say 3D printers in everyone's house, you'd be like, oh, now there's just a bunch more plastic. Like, that's something I didn't, that was this unforeseen sort of error.
We certainly had a bunch of those thoughts, but I'd say due to combination primarily of luck, none of that stuff really ever happened in a way that we would have worried about.
Amazing.
And the easiest way to think about it is that nobody ever put up an instructable on how to make something that's truly dangerous, because the people who are going to document something really well are going to do so in a way that's interesting. So there's instructables on how to make fireworks, and they're documented very well. The instructables on how to make bombs are documented terribly.
At one point we were seeing on the space of something like once a month, some really crappy, then you take the gasoline and you pour it in the toilet. And so those that you never saw any of those because they were really easy to catch.
Yeah, so we never really had to have much of it. There's one instructable we took down, which was how to set yourself on fire for a video prop. So it was doing a special effect of setting yourself on fire for a movie. And that was the one we actually judged that, okay, this was documented well, but we judged it crossed the line.
Yeah.
This is the one example where it's documented well, we actually don't want this content. Whereas all the rest...
In many cases, there's a concept of doing dangerous things safely. Right? Every single time you use a power tool, you're doing a dangerous thing, but you learn how to do it safely. Especially when you deal with small children, you are trying to teach them how to do dangerous things safely, understand their limits. And so something like some of these things that need to be done by professionals, right? You can have a professional level of documentation, and then but the question is it something that there is a professional skill barrier to entry, right? So unfortunately, the one for setting yourself on fire required professional levels of skill, but did not have a professional level barrier to entry. It looked like people who we judged that people would be able to try it, who would not be able to do it safely.
Right.
Yeah.
And that it would be, basically it was an attractive nuisance. And whereas many of the other things required you to acquire enough skill to, say, produce the fireworks, that you would not be able to get that far without having that skill.
So there's another philosophical
Yeah.
point to your question, which I think is super interesting, which is scale. And Instructables is modest,
Okay.
whereas Facebook is massive, and just due to its scale, there's different things that happen. So it's not linear. They're strongly non-linear between the two. And so I think that I don't think that people at Facebook are necessarily evil, but I do think that when you have something that is that big, you get non-linear effects that are difficult to anticipate and can have effects that you don't that are very big and unanticipated.
And so do you think that if it's not Instructables focused, but it's the maker revolution, do you think we could just get some right angle out of the maker's revolution that no one was ready for? Be like, wow, that really changed sort of how people communicated or made it?
Hopefully something good would come out of that, but again, I think the scale is
well, grabbing hold of the piece that you were asking about, I don't think that there is such a thing as a maker revolution. I think that there's a rediscovery or a resurgence of interest in a classical set of skills that never really went away. Because now there's access
I agree with that.
to
Yeah.
tools.
it became super easy to document, right? So
Yeah.
people, I think, were doing
Yeah.
this stuff all along, but suddenly cameras became cheap enough that people could actually document. So I think,
Yeah.
I never.
So this is more of a democratization of information in general. But if you look at all the things that people call maker, right? Those are really classic skills.
Yeah.
And so I'm in my 40s. My grandparents knew how to do all of these things.
Exactly.
Right.
And
My
everyone would
parents
fix
not so
something.
much.
Yeah.
So in the U.S., right, you have a generation that came through the Great Depression who can fix everything.
Exactly.
And then their children were embarrassed.
Yeah.
And then their children said, but what do you mean you don't know how to do this? That's really cool.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
So I think that it's not so much a maker revolution, it's a return to interest in skills that are classic.
Yeah.
And but the fact that now you can get cheaper tools, now you can share information more readily, means that I don't have to have a grandparent to teach me how to use the thing. I can go check out videos, I can go check out instructions, but I can do that virtually. So that is really across the board. I feel like in many cases when people say maker, they mean, and then I got a 3D printer. But that's really tool centric, but I think that the mindset is just something that, again, this is from my US centric view, skip the generation.
I think it's interesting what you said, but it seems like the grandparent generation learned out of necessity, but in this generation we're sort of doing it out of fun.
Maybe everyone's just preparing for the zombie apocalypse. Or whatever climate apocalypse we're likely to have here shortly. But I think that there's huge value in all of these things, and people are remembering that those are valuable skills, or rediscovering them.
Interesting. Can you give us some color on the demographics? I mean, you mentioned geeks before, but I mean, they're not all geeks. I mean, what?
Oh no. So at this point, Instructables is large enough that it's basically a cross section of the internet. So the demographic, but the core demographics, we're both MIT alumni, and so the original projects are all from our friends and family, and so the core projects are geeky projects for that reason. And those are also the early internet adopters. So when the site went live in 2005, the set of people who were on the internet was not everyone was on the internet in the same way that they are now, whereas now everyone is. So at this point, I would say Instructables looks like the internet using population.
I think when I joined, the demographic was very, very young. If I recall that, I think I was asking the median age maybe back in 2008, and I think the answer was like 15 years old, or super, super young. Or is it just a faded memory, or like?
So the thing is, you also see two usage groups.
Yeah.
You see
Kennex user.
You see, yeah, we have a lot of
Kennex, yeah.
a lot of kids making things out of Kennex. But you see people who are maybe in school or shortly out of school, and then they kind of disappear. And let me tell you why. They suddenly don't, I'm pointing at my children, but they don't have as much time for a little while, and then you see them come back.
Oh, when? University? In high school?
You see a lot of retirees. Too.
Retirees?
Yeah, and so that's a time when people refine their hobbies.
Yeah.
Or have time to rediscover hobbies. And so certainly the things that we posted after we had children is
different.
They're a bit different.
Yeah.
Right?
Parenting hack.
Yeah. Like I said, Halloween costumes, that kind of thing. But the number drops.
Yeah.
And so that's simply just the way people live their lives.
I really love, like, when I see on the forum, there's like a 10 years old talking to a retiree. That's like some of my favorite things that happen in Instructable, to see that conversations.
We had some problems at one point where we were so excited for some people to come intern for us, and then we discovered Zach was 15. 14? Yeah. Oh. Yeah, you're alone. So in fact, his dad brought him to San Francisco for a week to intern.
No way.
So he was 14 or 15.
Wow.
But we were sure he was much older than that. So he was very competent. The other thing is then suddenly you start seeing parents with science projects, right? So the way people engage is very different. But people who have kids of a certain age are probably consuming more.
So this next question is kind of transitioning to the new company. So USA is kind of losing its leadership in fighting against global warming, pulling out of the Paris Agreement. Maybe California is the kind of leading the pack. Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
But China has been decreasing the cost of renewable. For example, the manufacturing solar panels at a very low cost, adopting wind on a really massive scale. What do you think about that transition of America being less of a leader? Even the Green New Deal is so hard to get through. Like, what is happening there? And
yeah, so I'll answer the question a different way, which is what I think about the project that I'm working on now.
Yeah.
I think that we have to address our energy. We have to address energy in a big way, and in the U.S., there's a huge pool of capital, which is the American middle class consumer, who's currently not accessed for helping out in climate change. The only way that we're really going to address climate change in a substantial way is to recruit the American middle class consumer and help them be a part of the solution. The only way that's going to happen is we have to make it so that it is economically an advantage. So I really want to work on something where it makes it so that their best economic choice is their right choice. So I want to make it so that it just makes sense for people to adopt solar because it's the economic choice. But we've actually seen this happen. So Hawaii is about 40% single-family detached homes are solar.
wow.
And that happened very rapidly because the cost of the solar systems suddenly was at a point where you could get about a 5-year simple payback. And at that point, people didn't care about being green or economic, so they didn't care about saving the environment. They just cared about the economics. So at that point, it made sense. In the rest of the U.S., we're still somewhere between 7 to 12 year payback, which is just too complicated. People have to put together a spreadsheet to figure out whether it's going to make sense for them. And at that point, you've already lost them. So decreasing the cost of the system so that it's 5 years, about 5 years, is the heuristic I'm driving towards where I think we can get massive adoption. So that's the way I think of it, which is these things are not going to happen in a meaningful way from a government top-down type of solution. I think they're going to happen from recruiting the mass population into something that is economically beneficial. So when it's an economic benefit, people are just going to adopt it. So we have to make it so that their best economic choice is the right choice.
So maybe kind of piggyback on kind of transitioning. So is the Puerto Rico on the way to become like Hawaii or better? And the second is how does your product kind of compares with the Tesla solar roof? And and I've seen recently Saul Griffiths talking about World War Zero in a presentation he's made. And what do you think about the language or about the politics? Or what kind of, how do we engage people to do a Puerto Rico solar, or is Tesla a competitor?
I actually am not familiar with the adoption rates in Puerto Rico. I should get those numbers. That's a good point. The solar roof Tesla solar roof is awesome, but it's way too expensive. It's more for people that care about the aesthetics over the cost, which is fine. The 1% of people have already adopted solar, and that's fine. I'm trying to get the rest of the folks to do it so they can adopt solar. And solar roofs are not going to do that because they're too expensive. So I think about it as like, I'm trying to make the IKEA or Home Depot cabinets rather than custom millwork cabinets. That's really what I'm trying to do.
What's the timeline? What's the horizon?
We have something that's ready to go into production, and I just need to get it through certification. So I'm aiming for pilot installs for the new year.
Wow.
And from that, I'll then raise some more money for the company and hopefully do the first 500 or so customers over the next year.
Oh wow.
So the line of reasoning of make something economically advantageous that is also the right thing kind of matches up nicely with the idea of creating a self-sustaining business as opposed to a one-off charitable situation. One of these things is more sustainable and self-driving.
I imagine there's quite a few solar entrepreneurs out there. Like, apart from the price, is it going to be like also being like data connected? Are you going to be selling to the grid versus like storing on site? Like, how are you going to?
In the next 2 years, the batteries are going to drop far enough that you wouldn't do a solar install. So it'll just, and also the electricity prices are getting complicated enough where the price of electricity changes over the course of the day.
Yeah.
Where in California, the price of electricity midday is almost zero because there's enough solar. It's just that
I didn't know that. Wow.
When the sun goes down, there's a lot of demand, and so a lot of people are working on road shift.
So how does your company plan to deal with, like, talking to your customer and dealing with that peak issue?
So our plan is that our system will be storage ready, and in the future it'll have the same benefits of lower install costs for a battery as it does for the solar system.
Are you going to manufacture in China or in America?
The stuff that we're making is our system is largely off-the-shelf components, and so the first system we're selling is panels that are manufactured. Well, our primary source of panels is a Chinese company, but because of the tariffs, it's possible that those panels will be manufactured in Florida or other places we manufacture. But because of all the tariffs, people are moving their manufacturing plants around the world to meet that demand.
Do you think that would be a good thing or a bad thing overall? Like, reducing carbon footprint, creating jobs in the US. Do you think, in fact,
you mean moving those plants around?
No. If you were sourcing from Florida, would you see it as a positive?
Oh. I'm not sure it makes a difference.
You mean in terms of footprint?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's probably a wash.
It's about the same.
Because in terms of if you think about a solar system, the cost of the manufacturing of the panels is minuscule compared to their lifetime creation.
Huh. I see.
So the payback is months to a year compared the system lasts for 2 hours.
What's your price that you're selling it at for a standard house?
I'm aiming for $1.60 a watt. Currently, priced in the US are about $3 to $3.50 a watt. And the rest of the world, it's $1 a watt. So we'll still be, initially come out more expensive, but we'll eventually come out. And we can get into a bunch of details on that, but the thing that I'm making an automated safety inspector because I'm trying to automate the work of the safety inspectors to reduce the amount of work and permitting that needs to happen for solar.
I was talking. Sorry.
And like something that's very good is happening with technology is that the battery price will come down in 2 years, and that's great for you.
Yeah.
But what happens when that just keeps happening with everything, and then so the system that someone bought today, sure it lasts for 25 years, but how do you sell?
Yeah, so we've already crossed that threshold. That's the thing we're working on, which is the cost of the hardware. Again, this is all US numbers, so the cost of the hardware is about 10% of the cost of the total system. Everything else in the US is called it's soft costs. So it's overhead, custom labor, customer acquisition, and permitting. So those things make up the bulk of the costs for a residential solar system.
That's crazy.
But how do you combat in 5 years when the solar panels are this much more effective, this much more smaller, this much more?
Just think about the numbers. If I'm paying $3.50 a watt for a system right now, and I'm paying 35 cents a watt for all the hardware, which is about the cost. If you take that hardware cost to zero, we're still too expensive. So I could give you the hardware for free if you'd be willing to pay for the labor and the permitting and the customer acquisition costs, and it still wouldn't make economic sense. So the costs have already been wrung out of the hardware. The hardware costs are effectively not. They no longer dominate. They dominate the language because we used to think about this stuff when it was like $40 a month. So that's even the numbers I'm using are based on this hardware.
The hardware thing.
So we do all this gymnastics to convert all the rest of the costs of the business into this dollars per watt unit because we're so based on this thinking that the hardware is the driver of the cost, but it's not. The driver of the cost is soft costs. So that's the problem.
And but you don't have control over those. Well, you don't have control over hardware.
I'm trying to remove the soft costs.
Okay, so you do that.
By making an automated safety inspection.
Cool.
There's nothing on the market that's like that at the moment?
There's nothing, there's nothing.
Wow. Why?
I think because of this thinking about it being dominated by
construction industry.
By hardware costs, there's a mindset there,
Yeah.
and then also the businesses that are doing it are stuck in a contracting business. So they have their cost model is such that they make money by doing construction projects. I'm trying to build an appliance manufacturing business, right? So I want to make it so I'm just selling an appliance, and that appliance then gets installed. And there's some cost to install, but it's way lower than doing like a custom kitchen.
And it would still be installed on the rooftop, right?
Still do the roof, yeah.
Okay.
The hardware is largely the same.
Okay. Cool. So what do you think it would take for the solar and wind to be broadly accepted? Because you also are involved in a wind power company, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so you mentioned Sol up there previously. Sol Griffin's also Instructables co-founder.
Yes.
And he's working with me on this solar.
Ah, is he?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. The usual suspects. So, do you think that turning solar power into a plant is actually what's going to tip the balance? Or do you think this is going to be just a domino effect? And
This is an important thing.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing. It's a place right now. So that's.
But again, the question is, how can you make the right thing easy and cost-effective thing?
Mm-hmm.
So, save for solar, save for wind.
I see. But if you have to spend your time, like how many % of your time do you spend on like developing like this new company versus the say Makani or Makani Power?
Oh yeah, so I'm no longer involved in Makani. Makani was acquired by Google. It's technically no, it's not really relevant.
Regardless.
So one of my main things right now is just
What's the name of the new thing?
it's called SafeConnect.
SafeConnect. So a lot of people here, everybody know here Instructable, but very few people know Makani. So I'm just gonna show this really briefly. So you have been involved with not this version, but the previous version. Would that be correct?
Yeah, so I was one of the founders of Makani, but this is the
It's the first one.
yeah.
It's a little more complicated than
Yeah, the idea here is that a wind turbine, the only thing that doesn't even work on a wind turbine is the tips of the blades. That's the only thing that's actually moving through the fluid at any velocity. So that's where all the energy can be created. So the thought was, let's get rid of all the structure and just hold a kite and have it fly in the same pattern as the blades. And so the idea is you can get the same amount of power, but you have so much less structure to hold the thing in place, you can make it cheaper.
And then up at high altitudes, fuels.
And ultimately, I mean, the original idea was let's get up in the jet stream, plenty of high density energy, but clearly we're not in the jet stream yet.
Is that the goal though?
I think
The tether is
it
gonna
would
be
be cool to still get to the jet stream, but it's a ways off.
okay. It's gonna be like super high voltage, super long cable. And so the new one is SafeConnect. So SafeConnect is not really publicly visible.
Yeah, there is a website. It's called SafeConnect Solar, and but there's no point in having a consumer-facing site about this right now because we're still working
We
on
don't have a consumer-facing product.
Yeah, there's a website that looks like it's consumer-facing, but there's nothing.
And so, but in like 6 months, you will have installs in people's house. So this will be like private networks, or they'll be like public.
Yeah, initially the target market initially be California.
Home Depot.
And then over the long term, I'd like to become a solar manufacturer, and it would be sold in big box stores.
Wow, like a Best Buy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'd like it to be like buying a jacuzzi or a refrigerator or a dryer.
Okay. My last question is, what do you think is the role of makers, and especially these kind of like small local communities in climate change?
So I think that there's a lot of tinkering that still needs to happen to address different ways for us to make energy. I don't think we have all of our solutions yet. So I think there's a lot of things. And super obvious areas of transportation. Right? There's plenty of things that people can do with, especially high density batteries, where transportation can be totally rethought because we now have access to high quality, high density batteries. That's just one thought, but I think there's still a role for people who choose the impacts and sort of how we address transportation. Like you can see this in terms of all electric skateboards, and various other electrified vehicles of different natures that people are trying out.
And so, do you think that there's something that connects your different projects, like Instructable and the solar? Like, I mean, I guess you're going to be documenting your solar installation on Instructable. Probably. But do you have like a ground plan, or like what's your kind of dream?
There's no specific connection.
It's more just a mindset.
Yeah, the solar thing it matches up with my values. It's something that I want to hopefully make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Do my part towards working on that.
Do you proactively kind of trying to influence your kids to think in this kind of way that is like hands-on and like constructive, or do you try to actually let them be the judge? Or
okay, well,
let me point out something awful here.
Yeah, we've been very
So
distracted by it.
So this is Eric's current project. It turns out his other hobbies is making children's activity books. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and noted Stoic philosopher. But he's good friends with Musa, the giant devil frog, and they go have adventures together. And amazingly, they go have adventures in all the places we go.
Hong Kong.
And
That's incredible.
This is a proof copy and so after we go to Hong Kong and the children have stress tested this book, then it will be available for up on Amazon.
But this is the first time you come in Hong Kong?
Yeah.
But
well, we were 20 years ago, but yeah.
So you made a book about Hong Kong before you came?
The internet's really useful.
But just in terms of the distraction, so there's a page, I mean, I just described how you, so there's, Moose the Frog is kind of he's a little bit, he's an odd.
So we're brainwashing children through activities.
He's a little bit the opposite of Marcus. There's a page in here where Musa says, hey you should rip this page out and eat it. And Percy, who's having a little bit of needs attentionitis right now, decided that this was the time to rip the page out.
Yes,
So,
I'm hungry.
yes. So the frog dared him to rip the page out and eat it. When I made this book, I thought it would be hilarious to have a page where it says you should rip it out and eat it. And I'm now rethinking that when he actually eats the page in the middle of it.
Did you actually eat it?
Yes.
So, but there's
kind of slobbery around
yeah, there's word searches and there's puzzles.
Oh wow!
And all of the
I've
major
made
sites.
there's two of them. There's one about going to the dentist and there's one about going to Boston, and they're on Amazon. So if you go to the dentist or go to Boston and you have an interest in either Stoic philosophy, or if you have this interest in Stoic philosophy, frogs who tell you to rip the page out and eat it, and going to Boston with the dentist, these books may be for you. I think there's only about 10 people in the world that actually have those interests, but I decided to make a book for those people.
It turns out that right now Eric's time is not 100% filled with solar. I think that after he gets
pretty
approval,
good projects.
Yeah, he likes his projects.
Wow.
Let's see.
So
here we have Marcus Aurelius, and he says, happiness is a choice, write about a time when you choose to be happy. And we have a quote from Marcus that says, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And then we have the giant frog that says, wrong, you stop throwing up. And so that's, as you can see,
the dialogue.
they're having a good time with this. So that, in case you were curious what else Eric's been doing, I think that the next place they're going to go is Mexico.
Oh wow! So you're making a book about Mexico as well?
Yeah,
Wow. You mean after this trip? Right after? No.
A few weeks after.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
More questions?
Who's leading in the global energy race right now? I mean, is it a race or who's the leader right now? Like in terms of country, is it?
I don't think about that. I don't know.
I have a question. So, do you see Instructables developing as an education platform or something like that?
Yes. So specifically, that's something that Autodesk is strongly interested in, and so again, having not been directly involved, there are more and more features that are being added for teachers who are using it in their classrooms. And so, as with anything that requires software development, that takes time. But that is definitely a strong focus because it sits within the Autodesk education group.
How's the adoption of Autodesk products in schools right now?
I can't speak to that directly, but I know that Tinkercad is really, really quite popular. And I can tell you that in Azerbaijan it got some really incredible uptake recently.
Azerbaijan?
Mario. Do you know Mario Kasilova? Yeah, so he married an Azerbaijani woman and runs maker education for kids in Azerbaijan.
Wow.
And so guess what I ended up with? This is a big.
Wait, he moved there?
Yeah. So he's in.
Because I met him once at the Beijing Maker Fair.
Oh.
Yeah, he dropped by.
Cool. But yeah, so I just saw a huge uptick in usage for Tinkercad in Azerbaijan. It was really quite noticeable. But
It's very dependent on a human, like boot on the ground, typically, isn't it?
Yeah, because that's how you teach.
Evangelists.
Right, and you have to have something that's age appropriate and has a compelling use and story. And so when you ask, do Autodesk products have uptake? You know, there's so many of the products are really high end, and so the question there is, are they having uptake in universities? Presumably, I'm really not familiar, but all the products are available for free for education. So I believe that they get reasonable uptake there, but the age that I'm more interested in right now is really Tinkercad is the product that we use. And of course that one's free.
Yeah, I teach Tinkercad for younger students, and then for high school students I'll teach Fusion. And then I had one student who joined my class as a primary student, and then when he graduated, when he went to the high school, I started teaching him Fusion. He goes, I can't do Tinkercad. So he totally freaked out. I mean, is there something in the middle between?
There was, and we killed it.
There was 1, 2, 3.
There was 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. It was a mess. It was too much. It was too much for us to
maintain.
It was on multiple platforms. It was a mess. And also, I also firmly believe that you can go from Tinkercad to Fusion. If you don't, if going to Fusion is too hard, you maybe don't need to leave Tinkercad. It's not like there's it's a progression that everybody has to do. You can stay within Tinkercad and get a lot of stuff done.
We have professionals who use Tinkercad, right? Either as a sketching tool, or again, if you're not actually, if you don't need the power of the others.
Yeah, we did need to kill a bunch of people because there was just, it was the resources were spread too thin to keep all of those products across a bunch of things.
But I definitely do know that people are thinking of that. How do you help people bridge that gap? But
Yeah, it's a big change. It's a big
yeah.
It's a big change.
Yeah.
But that's the problem of how do you ladder up skills? And if you've got a tool that's as powerful as some of the more complicated CAD packages, there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
So any more questions?
Do you see, like, if you look at Instructables, do you think that you're going to have like curated courses there?
There are curated courses on Instructables. So yes.
These ones, right? The classes?
Yeah, the classes.
But isn't that, it's a gradual progression, or it's just?
You know, I am not directly involved in some of those, but yes, with most of them, my understanding is that it's your basic skills. So that then once you have those basic skills, then you can go follow some of the more complicated projects. And some of these, there is, I think, like 3D printing, as you may imagine, that 3D design printing, that's something that Autodesk has a strong interest in. So there are more levels of classes there.
Because you have 3 levels.
But in most cases, the goal is to give you the fundamentals, so that you can then go teach yourself the higher level. Particularly when you get into some of these things, the direction you go depends on your niche interest. And so.
And in demographics in terms of the countries or continents?
You know, I haven't looked that up recently, and unfortunately I don't have my laptop with me, but
Yeah, when I last looked, this is a while ago, but it mostly just tracked right pushes spoken.
yeah.
Right, if you did the breakdown of where visitors came from, it was just the breakdown of where English is spoken.
And like you said, that we see this more as a, you're reviving the classic skills. But how do you kind of fit this to innovation?
You know, I look at it as inspiration, right?
Yeah.
So when we're looking at this, I think that there are very few projects where people go with the intent to follow the directions. they go look at it and then are inspired to do the thing that they want to do, right? So I went to a conference a couple of weeks ago, and there were people doing demos and all of this stuff, and I came home not thinking I need to do that or I need to do that, but thinking that's right. Here's this hobby that I put away that I need to get back at, and that's really how we see people use Instructables. They use it as a source of inspiration, but are less frequently following a recipe.
It's similar when they're walking here as well.
Yeah.
They just remember all the things that they want to
Yeah.
eat, rather than looking at particular things and not doing that.
So I would say that it's more it's more inspirational content.
What do you do in your leisure time?
Right now, let's see, we do a lot of cooking. We make some Halloween some Halloween costumes.
I make books about inventors and frogs.
Yes. And let's see, I'm learning to grow fruit trees. 33 fruit trees now.
What?
Yeah, it may have gotten a little out there. The problem with the Bay Area is I can grow almost everything.
That's a problem.
Yeah, that's
Right.
definitely not a problem.
Right. We can grow the things that can't take frost, but then we can also grow the things that still have a chill requirement, so long as it's not too high of a chill requirement.
This is the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what do you want to know about Hong Kong?